the call to trust yourself. Beloved seeker, welcome. In this moment, as you listen, you and I step into the current of a river that began flowing centuries ago, when Ralph Waldo Emerson first gave voice to an idea both daring and eternal, that each of us carries within the depths of our being the compass of truth. The world may surround you with noise, with doctrines, with demands. Yet Emerson whispered to humanity, trust thyself. Every heart vibrates to that iron string. This is where our journey begins, with the courage to trust your own path. To be self-reliant is not to be selfish. It is not to close one's ears to others, nor to ignore wisdom that has stood the test of time. Instead, it is to recognize that the source of wisdom you seek outside already dwells within. Self-reliance is the art of listening to that inner voice, of daring to believe that the truths you glimpse in solitude are as worthy as the truths written in sacred books, or shouted in public squares. Pause for a moment and feel this within your own heart. How often have you sensed a quiet knowing inside you, a whisper of intuition, a sudden spark of clarity, a conviction that felt right even when others disagreed? That is the core of self-reliance, to honor that whisper instead of silencing it under the weight of conformity. Emerson knew that society, by its very nature, pulls us into conformity. He called it a conspiracy, not malicious but relentless. Every institution, school, government, church, even family at times, nudges us toward obedience, toward acceptance, toward sameness. And yet, life itself is growth, change, and the unfolding of uniqueness. If the seed had conformed, the oak would never have risen. To trust yourself, then, is an act of courage. It is to say, I will not live merely as an echo of the world, but as the origin of my own song. Emerson wrote, "Whoso would be a man must be a nonconformist." But let us hear this not in the narrow sense of rebellion for rebellion's sake. True nonconformity is not about rejection, but about authenticity. It is not a tantrum against the world, it is a deep alignment with your own nature. Think of the great figures who changed history: Socrates questioning Athens, Galileo gazing into the heavens, Gandhi walking barefoot against an empire, Rosa Parks refusing to rise from her seat. Each of them listened not to the dictates of conformity, but to the voice within. Self-reliance is the root of greatness. But let us also be honest, this path is not easy. To trust yourself is to risk misunderstanding, even ridicule. Emerson said, "Is it so bad then to be misunderstood?" Pythagoras was misunderstood, and Socrates and Jesus and Luther and Copernicus and Galileo and Newton. To be misunderstood is often the price of being original, of daring to bring forth what the world has not yet seen. So let us pause here and open the heart. Imagine yourself walking a forest path. The road is wide and well-trodden. Many feet have walked it, the air is filled with the chatter of the crowd. But suddenly you notice a smaller trail winding away into the trees. No one is on it. It is uncertain, unmarked, perhaps even perilous. And yet, something in you whispers, this is your way. Self-reliance is the courage to step onto that path. The weight of conformity and the fire of authenticity. Emerson warns us, society everywhere is in a conspiracy against the manhood of every one of its members. Strong words but true. Society thrives when its members are predictable, obedient, and manageable. But life, true life, flourishes in unpredictability, originality, and growth. The question is not whether society is wrong or evil. The question is, will you live as a servant to the collective expectation, or as a child of your own divine spark? Consider how often we betray ourselves for the comfort of belonging. How many times have you silenced your truth because you feared rejection? How often have you agreed outwardly while disagreeing inwardly? This is the subtle erosion of self-reliance. Emerson invites us instead to stand firm in the present. A foolish consistency is the hobgoblin of little minds. Do not cling to yesterday's words simply because you spoke them. If your soul has grown, let your words grow too. Let yourself be inconsistent if it means being alive. The world demands consistency because consistency is safe, predictable, and easy to control. But life itself is not consistent. It is dynamic, ever-evolving. To be alive is to grow beyond your own past self. Think of a river. Each moment it changes. The waters you step into now are not the same waters you stepped into yesterday. Yet it is still the river. In the same way, you are not bound by who you were yesterday. Self-reliance is the courage to let your soul flow freely without apology. But here lies the fire. When you trust yourself, when you walk your path, you will meet resistance. Some will call you arrogant. Some will call you reckless. Others will call you foolish. Yet Emerson would remind you, to be great is to be misunderstood. Authenticity has always threatened the structures of conformity. And so, the self-reliant soul must learn to walk with a certain solitude. Not loneliness but solitude, the rich silence in which your inner compass grows sharper. In this silence you discover something profound, that your soul is not merely your own. Emerson believed in what he called the oversoul, the great universal spirit of which each individual is a part. To trust yourself is, ultimately, to trust the universal self shining through you. And here we see the paradox. Self-reliance is not selfishness. It is sacred alignment. By trusting yourself, you are trusting the greater wisdom of life flowing through you. The oak does not apologize for becoming an oak. The river does not apologize for its course. So why should you apologize for living your truth? The practice of self-reliance. Let us now ask, how do we practice this self-reliance in daily life? How do we take Emerson's wisdom and make it flesh in our own journey? First, by cultivating inner stillness. Without silence, the inner voice is drowned by noise. Each day, create moments of solitude, in nature, in reflection, in journaling, in meditation. Emerson himself found his deepest truths not in debate, but in the quiet communion with nature. Second, by practicing honesty with yourself. How often do we lie to ourselves to maintain comfort? To be self-reliant is to be radically honest, to see your desires, your fears, your ambitions without disguise. Honesty is the soil in which authenticity grows. Third, by learning the art of creative courage. Trusting yourself often means creating something the world has not yet imagined. A poem, a business, a movement, a life lived differently. The act of creation itself is an act of self-reliance, because it says, I will bring forth what only I can bring. Fourth, by embracing solitude without fear. Emerson reminds us, the great souls walked alone before they walked with others. If you cannot stand in your own company, how will you stand against the crowd? Fifth, by practicing non-attachment to approval. The applause of others is a fleeting drug. If you rely on it, you will abandon your path the moment it is withheld. True self-reliance means finding joy in the act itself, not in the approval it may or may not bring. The destiny of the self-reliant soul. As we come to the close of this masterclass, let us gather Emerson's fire into our own hearts. To trust yourself is to honor the divine spark within you. To refuse conformity is to allow life itself to grow through you. To accept misunderstanding is to walk in the footsteps of the great. Remember this, beloved listener, your path is unrepeatable. Never before in the history of the universe has there been a soul exactly like yours. Never again will there be another. If you do not live your truth, it will be lost forever. The courage to trust your own path is not arrogance, it is reverence. Reverence for the unique role the universe has given you to play. Reverence for the voice within that is, in truth, the voice of the infinite. So let us leave with Emerson's blessing, trust thyself, every heart vibrates to that iron string. And let us add Vedira's whisper, trust yourself not only for your sake but for the sake of all life. For when you live your truth you become a beacon. And your courage lights the way for countless others to discover their own. This is self-reliance. This is the courage to trust your own path.